Hey guys, and welcome to Al Outdoors. Thanks for stopping in. Today's video is going to be the start of the bow making that I'm doing with my buddy Dave. He's a great woodworker, does a lot of, I'm going to say, old style crafts, knows how to make like birch bark containers, the bows, arrows, your actual bowstring, everything to do with it, and it's going to be a long process. Just the first night I did 12 gigs of video, so this is going to be broken into a lot of parts. I'll try and keep them all down to about 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes, but I'll leave Dave's info for his face page in the description below. And the first few sections is just picking out the wood and Dave explaining how the wood works, the orientation of the grain, what you want, how to lay the bow out, and we're just going to go from there. Dave's really good at relaying all the information and some stuff that you wouldn't know if you're trying to make your own bow. So I hope you enjoy the process, and we'll get to it. Stay tuned.
Go ahead.
So every piece of wood is different, even from the same tree. So if you're looking at the cross section of the stump, this is the outside of your tree. Usually your pith is off to one side, which means the growth rings on one side will be really tight, and on the other side they'll be wide, which gives this side of the tree different characteristics than this side as far as compression and tension. That's what we're primarily concerned with the bow. And on your bow, if this is the back, the side that's away from you, and this is the belly, the back is going to be in tension, and the belly is going to be in compression, right? So that means that all of the fibers on the belly side are trying to squish together. While they're being squished together, they're trying to not squish together. So we want something that's good enough in compression that it's going to spring back without crushing those fibers. And we also need it to be strong enough in tension that the fibers aren't going to just pull apart. So really, the amount of wood on a bow that is actually doing the work, you've only got maybe about 1/8 of an inch on the back, the side that's away from you, that's actually doing any work. And on the belly, you've got maybe about 3/16 of an inch that's doing the work.
Okay.
Those two layers, depending on how far apart they are, will determine the weight of the draw weight of the bow. So if you think of it like this, if you've got a little thin piece of wood and you try and bend that into an arc, the difference in distance between that and the outside, the inside and the outside, is not very great because they're not very far apart. If you've got a great big thick piece of wood, you can see that is a big difference to that.
Yeah.
That means this has to compress a lot more and this has to stretch a lot more. Wood doesn't really want to stretch. Mostly what we're dealing with is compression. So it has to be strong enough in tension that it can handle the amount of compression. If you've got a really hard, dense wood that's not very good in tension, it'll usually explode dramatically. A nice dramatic failure. Yeah. So usually what happens is you wind up with about 5 pieces. So you have the handle in your hand still, You have the piece that's attached to the string on the top and the bottom, and the middle sections of the limb will be across your shop, to be found later. It's and it just sounds like a gunshot going off. So generally, if that's going to happen, it's going to happen on the tiller tree
Okay.
long before anything ever happens, unless the bow gets damaged in use or becomes too dry and too brittle. Generally, those don't happen as you're shooting the bow. Usually there's little warning signs. You hear a little tick, 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 or you'll notice when you string it up. Very important that you keep looking at your bow, check it over all the time. If you string it up and you notice that it's got a funny curve to it, it's a little farther away from the string on one side than on the other, that's signs that you got damage and you want to take the string off, check it all for damage. If you really notice a difference in the tiller of it, it's probably shot. You're not going to correct it. You're not going to fix it. Take the string off and hang it on the wall. Okay. So when we're looking for the grain of a piece of wood for board bow, we want to make sure that we've got nice straight grain from one end to the other, so that we've got continuous growth rings. Because if you think of it like a stack of paper, and these are all the rings, you don't want little short pieces of that paper like this coming off the edge of the board, because it's going to snap.
Yeah.
This is what we've gone through already. We'll do it again. So if the grain comes up like this, when you try and bend that, it's just going to separate right along those lines and snap off.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want, as much as we can, we want that grain going from one end to the other. Board bows, you can get away with, depending on where the runoff is in the bow, if it's out near the tips and you've got a really stiff tip, it's not bending, it's not working. Sometimes you can work around it a little bit. If it's in the handle, you've got a little bit of runoff in the handle and you've got a stiff handle section, same thing. The really critical part is in the working part of the limbs.
Okay.
Okay. General guideline though, as straight as you can. Straighter the better. Pick through your wood. So we've got a few pieces of wood here. A couple ash, three ash and one elm. Elm makes a decent bow. I'm going to recommend going with the ash. I think it makes just a little bit better bow for board bows anyway. Elm makes an alright bow. It's light. It makes a good bow. It's just for the board bows, I'm going to say that the ash makes a really, really sweet bow. The other thing, if you're looking at it, I prefer for the grain to be running either on an angle like this or straight up and down. So that'd be quarter sawn or rift sawn. So that this will be the back of the bow, this will be the belly, and these will be the sides. So we want the grain running up and down. So then you have several years growth of the tree that are all doing the work, kind of like plywood. So you're not relying on one growth ring like you would be if the grain is running straight sideways like this one. If it's running straight sideways and you violate that grain, that's going to be a weak spot in the bow. And that's where it's going to want to
come apart.
Want to snap. You got a little pin knot or something like that. That's where it's going to want to break. A lighter weight bow like what we're looking at making, 40-pound range, 35-40-pound range, you can get away with a lot more because you don't have as much tension in the press.